I want you to tell yourself this every time before you start the truck. Remember the fact that you are a professional, and with this job comes an awesome amount of responsibility. This job takes a cool hand and a clear head to guide 80,000 pounds plus down the interstate at 60 miles an hour. We do this job because we love it, and we do it for the money, but we've got to be good at it. In fact, we need to be great at it. Your head has got to be clear. Everything else is secondary. Don't be worried about the delivery schedule. Don't be worried about whether your dispatcher is going to be upset or not if you get there late. Don't be worried about the remaining hours on your ELD. A big part of what you're being paid for is your keen focus and your judgment. Your focus, your head in the game, that's object number one. That means no distractions, no texting or watching videos on your cell phone. Focus 100% of the time. Before you start that truck, I need you to ask yourself this. Is my head in the game? Am I focused? Have I got my ducks in a row? Have I got my shit together here? Let's have a quick look at a few guys that didn't have their ducks in a row. Let's look first at the Humboldt accident that we had up here over a year ago. 16 dead. Was that guy's head in the game? No, he passed 6 warning signs, ran a huge stop sign with a flashing light. You can't tell me that guy's head was in the game. Number 2, this poor guy that rolled into Denver off the side of the hill, missed a runaway ramp and crashed into 4 people, killing them down at the bottom of the hill. This guy lost his cool. He didn't have his head in the game. He wasn't focused. He panicked. He passed a runaway ramp. He had multiple opportunities to save the situation. He could have put it into the ditch and flipped it over rather than crashing into stopped traffic. But he panicked. He lost his focus. He wasn't paying attention. He wasn't thinking about what he was doing. And finally, let's look at these 2 crashes in Houston, a week apart, at 2 separate times. 2 tractor-trailer guys shot off overpasses and plunged to their death because they panicked. They didn't keep a cool head. Both of them were cut off by cars, but cars don't have enough weight and force to shove a truck off a bridge. In both cases, those guys panicked, swerved, overreacted, and put themselves over the guardrails. The cars couldn't have done that. They don't have the force. If these guys had had their head in the game, they would have known just to hold their lane position when the car came at them. Yep, there would have been a fender bender. Yep, the car probably would have hit them, but everybody'd be alive and well. It would be a minor incident instead of swerving the wheel and the force of the tractor trailer lobbing it over the side of the guardrail, the one guy plunging 150 feet down. You've got to have your head in the game when you're driving one of these things because the potential for trouble is huge. One wrong move, and it can kill you or somebody else. So think this through. Think about this every day before you start the truck. Am I focused? Is my head in this game? Are my thoughts clear? Am I ready to go? And am I ready to devote 100% of my attention to this drive? That's what it's all about. That's how you stay safe and keep others safe. Here's a story from my past, something that'll make you focus a little bit on safety. Many years ago, I was hauling fuel out west for a small company. It wasn't very big, 35 trucks. We'd hired a new fella. In fact, he was so new that I hadn't even met him yet. And he was just loading one day, or finished hooking up, actually, and leaving the yard as I was pulling in. And the way our yard was set up, we just had to go down the road a little piece, up onto a ramp, and then swing either east or west onto the freeway. So this guy had left the yard, and I was chatting with a couple of other drivers that happened to be there at the time. And one of the things I found out coincidentally was that he'd just come from pulling regular trailers, and really he was just starting to learn how to pull trains, B trains, A trains, that type of thing. He wasn't used to it yet, hadn't done any of it yet. So, we thought, well, he's got a few things yet to learn probably. Wasn't 5 minutes there was a massive explosion. It rocked the yard, it shook everything. And it was horrendous. And after we got over the shock, we started thinking the worst and thought, oh man, I wonder. We hopped in a truck, hit the road, and went to get up onto the highway. There was our truck, only you could hardly recognize our truck because it was just a huge ball of flame, and the heat was so intense that we couldn't get even up onto the freeway. It was like another quarter mile up the ramp. We couldn't even get that far. And what they said had happened later, what we learned was that this guy had gotten to the top of the ramp and then swung left to go west, and the second trailer had scraped what most people call a Jersey barrier. And what they are is those cement half walls that they use to separate lanes on the highway. Well, he'd carved it a little too close, probably because he wasn't used to the length of the trailers yet, and the rear trailer had rubbed against the side of this concrete Jersey barrier, ripped open, sparked, and blew. And it was massive. You can't imagine anything like that. Killed him instantly. The explosion, from the explosion, the impact basically wrapped the cab into like a little tin can, and there was no hope for him. Not from the first spark. He was gone. But that fire burned for over an hour, and it was horrendous. The heat was incredible. Melted part of the highway away. And that guy, he didn't quite have his head in the game yet, and he wasn't focusing on his mirror, watching the trailer come around the Jersey barrier. And that was all that took. That split second of not paying attention, he was gone. It cost him his life. A horrible story, but has some bearing on the video. Keep the rubber side down, because I want to see you on the back home.